I think we're on now. Does it look okay from everybody else's point of view? Please let me know. Because it looks like we're on. Everybody good? Will
Yep.
Johnson?
Yep, I see it. We are live.
Yay. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in again and for your fantastic, unwavering support. We're under intense scrutiny that started just before the election and it's continuing. Left wing media is all over us, especially on this and related platforms. We need to continue our strong support from our viewers, such as you. You can make a big difference. Just go to fineberry.com and sign up for any kind of support. $1 or $2 or 10 or whatever. Keep us on the air so Will and Barry can keep bringing you the truth. Fineberry.com. Let's get going. Wild news. Wild news as they deconstruct and try and figure out what the heck happened to the other side. It's come out that Al Sharpton, one of America's most infamous racists, obviously anti Semitic for some of the things he's done to the Jewish community in New York. Get this, after spending $1 billion and going $20 million in debt, it comes out that under the table, Al Sharpton got $500,000. $500,000, Will. When he was a broadcaster, he still is on MSNBC, and he was going to do a sit down with Kamala Harris. But he wanted to get paid to bring her on the news. So her campaign gave him $500,000. And a week later, she shows up on his show and he just lobs softball questions to her underhand. Like, your 9-year-old kid could hit a double off of that. And and quite frankly, it was never disclosed. Nobody knew it till yesterday or the day before. This is shocking, shocking
Yep.
news. This is like lose your license stuff. I'm talking about MSNBC. Megyn Kelly went nuts. Here's her video about it.
Al Sharpton, who not only runs the National Action Network, that's his nonprofit organization, which is very sketchy to begin with, he hosts a show on MSNBC. And it just came out today that her campaign donated $500,000 to his nonprofit weeks before Harris went to sit with him for an interview on MSNBC. So irresponsible, unethical, and not allowed. You cannot make a donation to an anchor's charity on the side of $500,000 as a presidential candidate, then go sit with the anchor, and he didn't disclose it. This is not a news organization, but they continue.
Is that amazing? Imagine Donald Trump going to Joe Rogan, and Joe
Yep.
Rogan gets $500,000 to ask him easy questions. Number one, Joe Rogan would have turned it down, right? Number two, Joe Rogan would have said on the air live, and you gave me $500,000, so I donated it to the Boys and Girls Club, or I donated to Tunnel to Towers, not put it in my jeans. And I bought myself 2 new Mercedes and a trip to Barbados. And Al Sharpton has been shaking down American companies for like 30 years. I don't know if you remember, after the riots in Brooklyn, every company that they went and talked to make nice had to make a donation before he would talk to them. He's still doing it.
You know what, Barry? Supposedly MSDNC is up for sale. Did you know that? Did you hear about that? So this, you know what? They did this to themselves. And he should be fined. He should be fined $550,000 because he should have to pay more than that. If not more, if not $100,000, he should be fined. His organization should be shut down for doing this criminal activity. And Kamala Harris, on top of that, she should be fined as well, because they did this on purpose. They did this trying to make it look like she was reaching, trying to talk to the people, and it's unethical. Just like she said, is 100% unethical. There's rules about all of this. They knew better, and that's the reason why he didn't disclose it, because he was hoping it would never come out. But someone leaked it. Someone snitched on him.
Well, let me ask you a question. Isn't it law that everything the campaign spends money on has to be public record? Because the donations that come in have to be disclosed. That's the law, right? In other words, even dark money, they have to identify the organization it came from, right?
Well, that's just it. A lot of these rich, filthy rich people donated money, but they did it through super PACs, and they did it other ways to hide who they are. You know, the big donors. But the big donors, we're going to get into that in here, I know. But the big donors aren't happy either. Barry, $1.6 billion. 1.6 billion. You know what you could do with $1.6 billion as American Truth Project? Oh my goodness, Barry.
I could lose the election for president.
That just goes to show money doesn't buy everything. Yeah, money does not buy everything.
Trump raised less than half, like 400 million, and they still have 25 million in the bank. They couldn't. But if you think about it, I saw a report yesterday. A guy ran up to Oprah on the street. By the way, out of makeup, she don't look so good, brother. She's not looking good at all. And he goes, Oprah, Oprah. And she goes, yes.
He said, you look good. He said, you're looking good.
Yeah. And he says, I understand the Kamala Harris campaign gave you $1 million to endorse her. Because remember, Oprah has never endorsed anybody. Nobody ever wanted to write her a big enough check, probably. And she said, I didn't get $1 million. It went to her group or her foundation.
The network.
Whatever.
Because because the people had to work, they had to be paid.
So it went to OWN. Is that what it is? Oprah Winfrey Network.
Yeah, she said, it went to the network for the the lights, the cameras, the people working it. $1 million went to them for how long was it? Wasn't even that long.
A minute and a half. Well, when you go through the people like Beyonce, like supposedly 11 million, Bruce Springsteen, some big number, Megan Thee Stallion, 3 million, Cardi B, who can't even speak English if it doesn't have 4 letters in it. I mean, oh my God, the stuff that comes out of her mouth. And then she couldn't even read the speech. She had to have someone bring her cell phone. So she read it off her cell phone, and she can't even talk. I'm just astounded that it didn't drive millions of voters away from her.
I think it did.
You think so?
I think her bringing up all of these Hollywood and music nut jobs, music stars on stage, talking to all of us, basically talking down to us, Barry, is essentially what they did, because these people are high and mighty. We are something. We are the ones who are important here. So you need to listen to us because we're important. And we're telling you that you need to support her. And majority of the American people, and we can say that with confidence, said, no, you don't get to tell us how to think, who we support. And we're going to show you. And that's exactly what happened. And they got paid big billions, but millions of dollars. Just like you said, she got $10 million talking about, why can't I remember her name right now?
10 million was Beyonce.
Beyonce, yeah, Beyonce, 10 million. Megan Stallion
she wouldn't even sing.
No,
she was supposed to sing.
Yeah, 6 minutes. 6 minutes for $10 million, Barry. And then Megan Stallion, Mega In Stallion, whatever her name is. I don't even keep up with them.
And by the way, I got to remind our viewers, that was 3 weeks ago. We played that clip and we got banned for pornographic lyrics because the lyrics
Really?
in her song, yes, the lyrics in her song are horrible. I mean, it's like 4-letter word, start, start, start. Yeah, 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 yeah. 4-letter word, 4-letter word, 4-letter word. And if you remember, well, that was in Atlanta. That was the first rally. And when people got done watching Megan the Stallion and her stallionettes or whatever they call those other gals, half the crowd left. They were there for the gangster rap.
They sure did. They sure did. And that happened multiple times. Same thing with Beyonce. Beyonce was there. She went out there with
Oh, that was
her.
Houston. Yeah, in Houston.
Yeah, she went out there and Beyonce talked. And the thing is, Barry, Kamala Harris originally was not going to have the event in Houston. The only reason why they had it in Houston is because Beyonce didn't want to fly anywhere. She'd be like,
Oh, is
no,
that
you come. Yes. She's like, no, you come to me. If you want me to go on stage with you, you pay me $10 million and you come to me. You get a venue here. You get the venue here. You set it up here. I'll go on stage and I'll tell the stupid people to support you. And then she went out there for 6 minutes, her and her sister in a pantsuit, and then walked off. And then people were disappointed because Barry, people were waiting hours to hear Beyonce sing. We don't want to hear your political views. We came for the free concert. Did not get that. And then people started leaving. They were like, man, this is jacked up. I came here to hear Beyonce. And the way Kamala Harris's team was putting it out there, Beyonce, come here, Beyonce. Like, we know Beyonce is an artist. She's going to sing.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what they were expecting.
she's got like 1 billion gold records. I mean, she's the biggest thing in music. And quite frankly, the other people that have shown up were all supposed to be entertaining. And they all got paid. You know, Springsteen and Oprah and the various movie stars all got big 7-figure checks. Musk came out and said, not a single person, not a rock star, not a movie star, not a celebrity, not a politician, nobody got a penny. Nobody. And they were lining up.
Yes. To support Trump.
Lining up, volunteering, flying in themselves to wherever they were going to go. And one more thing before we move on, it has come out that Rogan is pissed because the demands from the Harris campaign to allow her to appear on Joe Rogan's show were like this long. You will build a set where we tell you. You will come to wherever we are. You will wait till we are available. Certain questions are off limits. We will max it out at an hour. And Rogan's response was, no.
No.
We don't do that. It's 3 hours. Come to Austin. Anything goes. It'll be friendly.
3 hours minimum.
It was a tragic mistake by her. Tragic.
Yes. And, you know, I don't think she would have made it anyways. But you know what, Barry? She was also paying influencers. She was paying influencers to go out there and say positive things about her to try to influence people to support her. Trump didn't do that. Those of us that want to save the country, we did it freely. President Trump has never sent me a paycheck. Not that I would turn it down. But President Trump never sent me a paycheck, and I was still happy to do it.
Well,
why? Because it's our country. Yes, all of us. It's our country we're talking about.
You know, we have millions of viewers. You have millions of viewers. You multiply that times 1,000 on some of these podcasts, you know, and in response, Kamala went on Who's Your Daddy? I think that's what it's called, or Call Your Daddy. And they
call her daddy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's about, you know, sex toys and bondage and stuff. And the audience is about this big. And it wasn't done at the Call Her Daddy studios. They did it in a hotel. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to decorate the hotel room that could have been done, according to some people, for a couple $100. And then it got no views because those people don't care about politics, right? They're all very, very, very young, right? and the audience to begin with is about that big. And that was her response to the Joe Rogan that has been seen over 50 million times, plus rebroadcasts, plus JD went on, right? Plus Musk went on.
Yep.
And then Rogan comes out and endorses all of them.
Yep.
I mean, it's a wonder the landslide wasn't bigger, truthfully. All right. We got our point across. Moving on. This is really upsetting. I keep reporting, and we talk about it every week, about these woke colleges that are about to get steamrolled. And I mean, they don't know what's coming from the federal government in about 2 months, and it's going to be brutal. And Trump's already talked about it. There's a guy named Joseph Massad. He described the October 7th massacre in Israel as innovative. That's a quote. And, quote, a major achievement. He's been hired to teach at Columbia. He's in the classroom now. Check this out. Look at these quotes. He said this on October 8th, the day after the massacre was announced and broadcast worldwide by the massacrers, by Hamas. Quote, no less awesome were the scenes witnessed by millions of jubilant Arabs who spent the day watching the news of Palestinian fighters from Gaza breaking through Israel's prison fence or gliding over it by air. Then he went on, because that wasn't brutal enough, to say, in the interest of safeguarding their lives and their children's future, the colonists' flight from these settlements may prove to be a permanent exodus, meaning the Israelis are going to leave. They may have finally realized that living on land stolen from other people never make them safe. He said that as well. Keep in mind, Israel's been there for 3,500 years. Gaza is in the Bible as Jewish territory. So is all of the land of Judea, Samaria. It's the land of the Jews, the land of Israel, given to them by God in the Bible. This rewriting of history by lunatics like this guy is absolutely, well, despicable. And how do you get rewarded? Well, you get a job at one of the most prestigious universities, well, formerly Columbia, in America.
Yeah, that's typical. I mean, we're not surprised by that. You can go out there and say, Barry, you could do it. You could completely flip on Israel, say the most hideous statements, make the most elaborate lies about Israel, and they will probably reach out to you and give you a job. Barry, we got a 7-figure job for you right now every year, and all you have to do is just do these speeches once a week, have a class, maybe once an hour class, and bash Israel. We won't call it that though, because we got Israelis, Jewish students at the school, so we won't call it that, but we want to push that. But come on in. It's pretty disgusting. No one, I mean, I don't think anyone's surprised by it. I know you're not surprised by it. It's just the point I think in all of this is that we know that their whole point is to destroy Israel. They hate Israel. And then the left is the first one to come out and talk about anti-Semitism. They're the first ones to come out screaming it, and yet they're the first ones to push it.
It's horrific, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, Will Johnson, and the light at the end of the tunnel is DJT, who has said a number of times, either anti-Semitism stops now, no break-in period, no 1 or 2 years to write a new policy, no board consideration. You stop it right now, or I cut off the money right now. And that means, in the case of Columbia, half their budget comes through grants and student loans. When that money gets shut off, you want to see a reversal in policy that quick, it'll happen. That's the power of a powerful president who gives to you-know-whats about stopping this hatred. God bless him. And thank you, Donald J. Trump, for making that statement. I assume he'll carry through with it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't already started doing it. Maybe they have in behind the scenes. Maybe they have already started making that pathway to that, because come January 20th, if they haven't done it, they're going to be in trouble. So they're probably they're probably into prolonging it, but they're getting prepared for the transition. You can guarantee it. They're going to act like they never even did it. Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. Speaking of universities, Will Johnson, it's not just here. This is horrific. There's a terrorist who was convicted of murdering 4 people in a Paris synagogue. The guy's name, let me show you who he is Dr. Massan Diab. He was convicted in France. He was sentenced to life in prison for killing 4 people, one of whom was an Israeli. It happened several decades ago in Paris. He fled before he could be put in prison. So he ran away. He ran to Canada, and France has been trying to extradite him ever since to put him in prison. So what does Canada do? They gave him citizenship. This is not a joke. I mean, this is horrible. They gave him citizenship. He's a multi-murderer, terrorist. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. And now he just accepted a teaching position at a prestigious university in Canada. And his classes will be on social justice in action. Well, you know, social justice includes blowing up the house of God wherever you can, especially if there's Jews inside. The bomb was planted in the side bag of a motorcycle. It blew up at the Rue Copernic synagogue in Paris. And Israeli reporter and 3 other bystanders were killed. 20 were injured. He got life imprisonment, ran away, and the Canadians under Justin Trudeau gave him citizenship. And now he's a professor at a big university in Canada. Isn't life grand?
Yeah, you know, Canada has Trudeau, so he's probably one of the ones that he probably sponsored this guy too. Would not surprise me.
I'm to the point where I look at Canada, and you want to just write it off till they get rid of Trudeau. I mean, his policies are horrific. Absolutely horrific, to the point of I just can't believe that's our closest neighbor. And people say, oh, Canada is just like the United States. Well, if you compare the last 2 stories we just did at Columbia University and this university, Carleton in Canada, yeah, they are the same, Will. They really, really are. What anti-Semites are welcome on campus. We'll give you a prestigious office. We'll give you a prestigious title. And you can teach how murdering innocent men, women, and children, mowing them down, blowing them up, throwing them in ovens, decapitating them, slicing them open alive, is all part of the resistance.
Yeah. They keep promoting, you know, it's like the same story we just heard here in America. These people are everywhere. They're willing to promote these people. But the prerequisite, Barry, are the common denominators that you have to hate Israel. And if you want to be harmful to Israel, then we'll bring you in.
You called it 100%. One thing I am enjoying, Will Johnson, is the left-wing backlash. Now that
I still have all of my hair.
now that Hitler's little brother, Donald J. Trump, has been elected, I mean, they've called him every possible name: fascist, Mussolini, Hitler. You know, he's worse than Stalin. How bad will the second term of this monster be? Well, check out this video. It's a little bit of a collage that explains how horrible things are going to get. This is a delight. I wish you had some popcorn for this.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do.
And shoot visitors to the White House.
Yeah.
That means he can shoot the First Lady. we're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer.
Using martial law against the American people.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election.
He's going to shoot the first lady. He's going to have concentration camps. Everyone's going to be thrown in jail. By the way, you realize that nobody ever fact checks these people by saying, a question, did any of those things happen when he was president for 4 years? Did anybody get thrown in an internment camp? Did he shoot anybody in the White House? Well, why does that question never get mentioned?
Because they always leave out the key details. They leave out everyone. So when they have a narrative that they want to push, we don't need to add this other information because this is what we need to push. This is our agenda. This is our agenda.
So they say this with a straight face. His lawyer, who went to prison for lying repeatedly, who's now out of prison. So the only place he can get hired is MSNBC. And he says he's going to be the Fuhrer, like Hitler, the leader of Germany. And the host, Joy Reid, yeah, oh, yeah. He's going to shoot everybody. Yeah, he is. Yeah. We're all going to jail. I've never seen anything dumber than this. And maybe that's why, since the election, MSNBC's ratings are down by half. And the rumor is NBC's trying to offload the network. It's losing a fortune. How much are they paying Rachel Maddow for 1 hour a week now? $10 million, some crazy number. I don't know what it is. Do you know the number?
I don't know how much they're paying her, but it is a ridiculous amount of money. And she's not even worth it. I mean, she's a propagandist, one of the biggest propagandists on MSDNC, one of the biggest ones. But she's not the only one, Barry. There's other people that are down as well. And remember, so Joy Reid, she's down. I think she was down like 54%. And there's multiple people. Actually, I remember seeing a chart about that where these people are down and just completely lying about how much they were bringing, how many views they were bringing in, and how many people were looking at it. So here's the numbers that I remember. Joy Reid, she's down 54%.
Okay, let me stop you. I just looked up her pay.
Okay.
$8 million a year.
$8 million for $8 million a year. Yeah, and Rachel Maddow, she's on CNN, right?
No. She's MSNBC.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. She's on MSDNC. You're absolutely right.
She does 1 hour a week, one day.
For $8 million a year. Wow. That's 30, nice.
No. 30 million.
30 million.
I'm looking at it.
30 million a year for one show a week. Wow. But here's the numbers that I've seen. Joy Reid is down 54%. And then Ari Melber is down 49%. Chris Hayes is down 47%. Alex Wagner is down 53%. Morning Joe is down 39%. And Andrea Mitchell is down 39%. And Stephanie Roy, I'm not sure how you say her last name, but she's down 67%. She's the one that actually interviewed Kamala Harris, the big interview. Like she was the first one after she came out the basement. She was the first one to interview her. She's down 67%. And they're talking about layoffs in MSDNC as well as CNN because people are tired of being lied to.
Oh,
Barry.
CNN just let go their biggest store with the biggest pay, Chris Wallace, who they lured away from Fox News for $7 million, and they didn't renew his contract. He's out. And supposedly,
actually, he walked away from it.
The story is
that's the story that first
he
came
did
out.
walk away because they didn't renew his contract. So it's like, well, you can stay. That's great. We're not going to pay you anything, but hang out all you want.
Wow.
So obviously he left and he said, I'm going to have a podcast. So he's gone. Fox couldn't wait to get rid of him after he destroyed Trump at the debate. He literally is way left and was hiding in Fox. So he's gone. And they're saying that the big name talent at CNN is all on the chopping block because their ratings are down so low, they're losing a fortune. Same at MSNBC. It's all ratings driven. And the numbers you read justify half the ad revenue they're bringing in because their audience share dropped by half.
Wow. So you said Rachel Maddow was getting 38 million?
It says 30 million for 1 day a week. She works 1 day a week.
30 million. And Anderson Cooper, to my understanding, he was getting what, 20 million?
I'll look it up. It's all public.
Yeah, and then I know behind Anderson Cooper was Aaron Burnett. And if I'm not mistaken, she was getting
Anderson Cooper gets 20 million.
Yes. And then but after him, there's Aaron Burnett, and I believe that she was getting 5 million or something like that. And then after her is Caitlyn. She was getting
they're estimated Aaron Burnett,
million.
3 to 6 million.
3 to 6 million. And then Caitlyn, the one that's after her, the highest, is getting 1 million.
Unbelievable.
So all this money, can I say what this is brought to them by? The reason why they were making money?
Yeah,
can I say it? Are you
yeah.
sure? This is brought to you by Pfizer.
Caitlin Collins gets 3 million. Yeah,
3
so
million.
They're going to lay off all the big names, and they're going to do where I used to work at One American News Network. They're just going to get newsreaders, pretty faces, men and women that look great on camera. You don't know their name. It doesn't matter. And there'll be a revolving door getting paid, minimum wage, so to speak. And they're just going to give up because their fear mongering didn't work. And you're all going to concentration camps and you're all going to be killed. And, they're going to break into your house and arrest you.
Trump is a threat to our democracy.
Exactly.
Over and over and over and over again. This is what we're going to push out. This is what we want people to believe. And it backfired on them. It backfired on CNN. It backfired on MSDNC. And now they're all hurting from it because people are no longer watching them to say, you lied to us this entire time. And then President Trump shows up in the White House shaking hands with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's smiling.
For 2 hours.
Oh, but he was a threat for 2 hours.
He was the biggest threat to democracy. And then Jean-Pierre says yesterday in the press conference, we stand by everything we said. And everyone in the press corps is just shaking their head like,
yeah. Are you going to apologize?
Yeah. Who's going to apologize to who? Well, why don't you start?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right, listen, I saved a big chunk of today to talk about some of the key things that Trump wants to do. And everybody knows in the last week since he became president-elect, he's going berserk on nominating people. And every single person he nominates is making the left crazy, as we saw in the video just now. Let's talk about some of the stuff he's talked about. Obviously, these are incredibly popular proposals, Will. He won the popular vote by 5+ million. He won the Electoral College vote by 100, which is a landslide. He won the Senate and he won the House. That is everything you can win, total control of Washington, D.C. for the next 2 years. Because he laid out the policies and Americans voted yes on the policies. It's not because he's a nice guy. It's not because, he says sweet things. It's the policy. You want a president to enunciate his or her policies, and that's what you vote on, not to feel good or feel bad. That wears off.
Or the what's between your legs, or your complexion,
or your ancestry, which is in doubt. So let's start with immigration. He has appointed as the border czar Tom Homan, who said, we're starting on the first day. And these governors and mayors in the blue cities are saying, we're going to oppose the federal government. He goes, we're coming. You better get out of the way.
Yeah.
We're coming.
Yep.
And he said they're going after the murderers, the rapists, the terrorists, the felons first. All the people that got arrested, booked, and released into America to run around God knows where. And everybody says, especially in the border states, they elected Trump because of the border. They want the 400 miles of wall built. They want people to come in the front door. It's a crime. But everybody forgot. And honestly, it could be a 10, 11, 15 million. We don't know how many terrorists are there. We don't know how many drug dealers. We don't know how much fentanyl came in. We don't know how many kids are trafficked, right? That have been sold into slavery. I mean, they're catching kids 11 years old working in packing plants that have been sold by traffickers. They're slaves, literally slaves. So
yeah.
Policy number one, immigration. Policy number two, he wants to cut taxes on the middle class. Remember Kamala's thing? Oh, the rich should pay their fair share. And then Musk comes out and goes, I paid $10 billion last year. I paid more in taxes than anybody in the history of the world, which he has, right? But, the communist thing, the rich are taking all the money, and if they pay their fair share, we won't have to pay taxes. Trump is going to cut the middle class and the corporate tax rate dramatically, which will lower interest rates because it'll put pressure on the Federal Reserve. Do you think people got that message loud and clear?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Bear, I still don't understand why you would go to work. The American people go to work. I go to work. We work hard. And then the government just comes. They don't even have their hand out. They have their hand in the other side of our pocket. So when we put the money in it, they just take whatever falls into it. They don't even work for it. Nothing they do earn it. Nothing. And they make excuses for them to take money from us. And that's part of the President Trump's agenda. He's wanting to no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security.
Stole both of those, but nobody believed her.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. That sounds very familiar to me.
Somebody else running for president mentioned that like a week and a half ago.
Exactly. And the thing is, Republicans, for the most part, have always ran on the fact of you being able to keep your money. You've earned it. You should be able to keep it. Keep more of your money. Well, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they think about it differently. They're easily blow through $1.6 billion. So they need more of your money to blow through other items. A lot of pork. They want a lot of pork to put out there. And we see it happen all the time. And President Trump is 100% correct. You should be able to keep your money. And they can't stand it. And all of these, and you know what? You're talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk now teaming up with Vivek. They're going to come in and look at all of this unnecessary spending.
Doge, baby.
They are getting.
I want a Doge hat.
Yes, they're so going bonkers right now. You're going to cut this. You're going to cut that. If you're in DC right now, start packing. They should. I'm sorry. They should fire all of them. I'm sorry. Fire all of them.
They're talking about, it's not a joke, hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
I mean, what did he cut the payroll at X when he went in there, and all the engineers said the system will collapse. We'll be off the air in an hour. It'll never work. We're going to lose a fortune. And Musk said, "You don't know what you're talking about." He laid everybody off, and now it's making a bundle, right? Bundle.
Yeah. He did 80%. He got rid of 80%. The only bad thing, and I'm still saying this, out of the 20% that remained, there's still some that are completely against free speech.
I know.
There's some that are still totally liberal.
To us every week. I look at some of our videos that we do, and we'll have 100,000 views, and another one will have like 300, and then I can't find it. He hasn't, how shall we say, purged the ranks all the way down. You know what I mean? It's right. And you say this all the time, and you're right. Zuckerberg goes before Congress and apologizes because the government told him how to manipulate the data in the last election. He's sorry he did it. I don't know if I believe him, because I'm still getting shadow banned. So are you. We know what we can say.
My goodness.
We know what we can't say. And by the way, it's just the truth. We give the source of where it came from. But, Timmy in the basement, who's the independent fact checker, disagrees with your political viewpoint, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Nussbaum, right? And so, you put a video out, it's got that fuzzy thing over it, restriction placed, maybe offensive. Unbelievable. So the next thing Trump wants to do is 10% tariff on goods imported. And when people go, oh my God, prices are going to go up. Well, what it's going to do, like he went to the auto workers, the reason why he carried Michigan, which is where the American auto industry is, he said, look, I'm not going to let them build plants in Mexico. They can build a plant there. They bring the car to the border, 100% tariff. You want to build a Ford in Detroit? No tariff. Where are the jobs going to go? Everyone was getting laid off in Detroit. Those auto workers lined up behind Trump. He saved their jobs.
Sure did. And President Trump, he knows how to utilize those tariffs. And that's one of the big things they're out there saying right now. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so bad under Trump. You just wait and see. I don't have any data on it. I have no reason to actually say it other than my feelings, but you just wait and see. It's going to be really, really bad under Trump. Really, really bad. It sounds like children we're dealing with. I'm like, are you kidding me? When President Trump was in office the first time, Mexico, they were not doing right. They were not doing what they're supposed to do with the people that's coming into the country. President Trump put tariffs on them immediately. They changed their tactics. They changed what they were doing immediately. And then all of a sudden, the flow was cut down. They started getting involved because President Trump knows how to utilize tariffs. Same thing with when it comes to Japan, China, sending product here. He knows how to utilize the tariffs. And they all keep screaming, oh my goodness, he's going to make the cost of everything for us go through the roof. It's going to be higher. Well, Barry, after World War II, the United States of America agreed to put tariffs on different things going into China from American-made companies. The tariffs are so high from American-made businesses like car companies, that they can't even get into China because of the tariffs. And the reason why they did this is so that China could build their country back. That's the purpose of the tariffs during that time. But guess what? The Democrats want to leave those tariffs in place, and they don't want President Trump to utilize the tariffs to get them to do the right thing.
Well, I'll tell you what else he's going to do. I got one more thing to add. 3 words: drill, baby, drill. You remember on the first day of the Biden administration, they cut off the pipeline from Canada. So Canada's like, okay, we're not going to pump our oil. to the United States and the refineries in Louisiana? Nope, we're cutting off the pipeline. So what did Canada do? Sold it all to China. China's going, yeah, we'll take it all that Canadian oil. Great. And oil prices went to the moon. Gasoline prices went to the moon. Heating oil went to the moon. And we went from energy export to energy import in one day. And look at the prices at the pump. Truckers went crazy because they weren't getting more money to drive their trucks across the country, but it cost twice as much, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We were the #1 exporters of natural gas when President Trump was in office in the world. The #1 exporter. They ended all of that. They stopped all of that. And now, then you had Joe Biden went to Saudi Arabia on his knees, hands and knees with hat in hand. Oh, drill for us. We need more. And then there was I forget exactly what it was about, but Joe Biden was over there because he said, just hold off. Wait a minute. We're going to work this out. And it all came out that Joe Biden was over there trying to create deals to try to make it look like that the oil in the United States of America wasn't declining and that we're going to have to fork out more money to Saudi Arabia so they can start drilling. They played Joe Biden like a fiddle. If I said
and by the way,
a fiddle. Yeah,
a fiddle, and they have this much respect for him.
Yes, zero. I mean, he showed up. They didn't even meet him at the airport. He pulled up to the location. They gave him a fist bump. But when President Trump showed up, Barry, do you remember that scene? When President Trump showed up in Saudi Arabia, they had horses and they had people out there, flags everywhere. There was thousands of people. It looked like a king showed up.
And
that's the way they treated President Trump.
They had that Arabian sword ceremony, which honors a king. It's a king ceremony, and they honored him as a fellow king.
Yes.
Right? It's the lack of respect was the same way, if you remember, it's been a few years when Obama did his apology tour, remember?
Yep,
and
I remember that.
And he bowed before the leaders in the Middle East. The first time in 200 plus years of American history, an American president bowed his head to another world leader. It was such disrespect to America, right? And it was demeaning to the office of president. Remember that?
It really was. It really was. He got on his knees and bowed. And where was it at? They made Obama get on the back of the plane too?
I don't
remember
recall
that.
I don't recall that.
There was, I forget which country he went to, and they purposely did not put the steps up to the front of the Air Force One. They purposely put him to the back of the plane. I remember that hitting the news.
If that would have happened to Trump, he would have had a cow.
No, he would have like, what is this? They would have never allowed to happen in the first place. They would have never allowed it to happen. And besides, these other countries, they know not to cross. Remember when President Trump, he was at, I forget, was it like the G7 or what have you, and they were walking and they were trying to make Trump in the background. He's
pushed them out of the way. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Forget that.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Doing this. Get out of the way. I'm the American president.
Yes.
Move over. And he's like right in the middle of the picture.
He was move, B, get out the way. Get out the way.
Yeah, and Biden.
That's an alpha male. That's an alpha male. That's our president.
Yeah, and Biden wandered around, and the president of France has to hold him by the arm to lead him off the stage because he doesn't know where he is.
Yeah. Or there's a parachute guy over there. What's going on over here? Oh, what's going on over there?
You know what? We are 2 months and a week from being delivered from purgatory into heaven. It's going to be that good.
You know, a lot can happen in that time, Barry, because they dropped the bill to do more damage. All this whole bunch of pork, et cetera, which I'm
don't forget a lot of this. All this stuff can be undone. All this stuff can be undone. I got to mention Colombia. We just had Veterans Day. I put out all my American flags. I thank everybody that I meet who served in any capacity for their service, as well we should. We live free because the men and women like your father serve our country. God bless him. I mentioned Columbia University earlier. This is really gross. I want to show you the poster. This is Columbia University allowed this to be posted on the campus, which just disgusts me. I can't believe it. They renamed Veterans Day Martyrs Day. They say Veterans Day on November 11th is an American holiday to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of veterans. This won't stand. We reject this holiday. We refuse to celebrate it. The American war machine should not be honored for the horrors unleashed on others. What should we do now?
Wow.
Instead, we celebrate Martyrs Day in honor of those martyred by the Israeli-U.S. war machine. A day to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of the martyrs. The martyrs in Arabic are the terrorists who died blowing themselves up, trying to kill Jews, trying to kill Americans, planting bombs, and so on. Columbia University made a distinct investigation and decision, Will Johnson, and allowed Martyrs Day on their campus. Anybody that sends their kid to that school ought to have their head examined. Honest to God. I'm disgusted.
Wow. Wow. Again, you send your children to these indoctrination camps. That's, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, I hate to say that. Because I remember when I was younger and I was growing up and I started going to college. And that wasn't, I know there was a little bit happening, but it wasn't to this extreme, at least not that I recognize, because I didn't go in a circle of communism either. And this is when I kind of considered myself a Democrat. Kind of, right? Kind of. I have to put that part in. I get a little embarrassed every time I have to remind people that I used to be a Democrat. But when I went, it wasn't like that. Besides, I didn't have time to you know, associate with the nut.
Well, you
jobs.
also weren't studying, I know, bisexual basket weaving. You know, we
I don't even recall seeing that on this part of the curriculum for anything.
We played that video a few times where they show the Columbia graduates out in the street, you know, with their majors, and you know every single one of them is going to end up working at Starbucks because, you know, intersexuality
and then complain
intersexuality and the bisexual nature of the Civil War prehistory in Alabama. You know, and you go,
and then and then they complain. Then they complain that they're not able to get a job,
and they owe
$300,000
in student loans, right, for the art history of transsexual midgets in the 17th century, and they can't understand why nobody wants to hire them, and how are they going to pay back $300,000? So, obviously, those loans should be forgiven, you racist bastard, for forcing them to have that education that they signed up for, right? And the college gave that was a degree in it.
And you know, the Biden regime was actually pushing it out there that we're going to pay off your student loan because they wanted their support going into the election too. It was 100% political. They didn't do it because they cared about the American people. We need your vote. We need your vote.
And you know what's really curious? I don't think that worked either.
It didn't work. It didn't work. Because for one, it was unconstitutional. And even though they found it, even though they proved that it was unconstitutional, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they still went outside of the Constitution, and they found money that was allocated for something else, and then they paid off some people's student loan, not all of them, just some of them, and they were hoping it would be just enough to get them to get everyone to vote for Kamala Harris, so they can say, yeah, we did pay off student loans, but there was millions upon millions of people that got student loans that didn't get anything. But I think it was DEI student loans they were paying off.
Could be. I've got to mention this. because it's just outrageous. There's been horrific outcry about the terrible staffing put out by the Trump administration, proposed people to come in. And I want to look at some of the staff that Biden put in that nobody seems to remember. And let's review a few of them. In the upper left-hand square, that man, that's Admiral Rachel Levine. That's a guy. She, quote unquote, serves as the 17th Assistant Secretary for Health and Human Services, confirmed by the Senate. That's a guy. And under him, there have been a record number of transsexual surgery mutilations approved and often paid for by the U.S. government. In the upper right-hand column, quadrant, I should say, is Pete Buttigieg, who was a failing mayor of a medium-sized town in Indiana called South Bend. And he wasn't going to win re-election. His policies were so bad. He was so unpopular running this little town in Indiana. So what did Biden do? Nominated him to be Secretary of Transportation. And he came out with outlandish statements like bridges are racist, if you remember that, in New York. In other words, they were intentionally built too low 100 years ago so black people couldn't get out of the city. I mean, he made comments that are just insane. And he and his husband are raising their kids to believe in all of that. And he's still Secretary of Transportation. In the lower right-hand picture, that very good-looking man is Energy Department official Sam Brinton. He was in charge of all nuclear waste disposal. Incredibly important job. And if you remember, as you pointed out last week, was arrested not once, not twice, I think 4 times for stealing ladies' luggage at airports and then wearing their designer dresses. I don't know how he knew where they were. Maybe he used some sort of government access technology to figure it out. And he dressed himself up like this with pearls and makeup and lipstick and high heels and went to the office every day like that. After his 4th arrest, I think 4th, maybe 3rd, he disappeared. Nobody knows whether he was let go or suggested to just go away. Never did serve any time in jail, even though he committed a number of these crimes, and he was arrested and actually booked in Vegas, in Minnesota, in Washington. He did it. Remember? Unbelievable. And then the lower left, this lady is still unbelievable, employed by the President of the United States. That's Karine Jean-Pierre. She's the press secretary. She's astoundingly unpopular because she refuses to answer questions and mostly just argues with the press corps. And to the point where, I got to be honest with you, sometimes it gets really, really, really uncomfortable to watch how she doesn't answer questions. Do you know what I mean?
It's a binder. It's a binder, Barry.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, everything's in a binder.
Unreal.
Yeah, you just showed all of those people, and they have the nerve to say that they brought decency back to the White House. They brought decency back. And I'm like, what? See, this is the problem right now. They believe that all of the wokeism that they were pushing, the American people are all about it. But majority, more than half, we can say, they're not all about that wokeism. They're not about it at all. And every last one of those people in that picture you just showed is not already about to be out of a job. Thank goodness.
Oh boy, is that the truth. And not a minute too soon. It's really amazing from my perspective that somehow these crazy people stayed in their jobs and it wasn't covered anymore. And
because they don't fire anybody. President Trump keeps bringing it up. They fire no one. Sorry to cut you off.
It's true.
They fire nobody. Like, oh my goodness, 13 soldiers lost their lives. They fire no one. $8 million for charging stations. What? 2 of them were built, 1 of them broke. No one's fired. I mean, come on. I mean, so much. So Barry, you and I could have done a better job in running the country. I mean, seriously, we could have done a better job. And this is the reason why people
if
didn't.
You were in a dress and pearls and high heels and makeup, probably, but that suit is not covering it. I do want to cover one more story. We have a minute. Iraq has just announced that they are lowering the age of consent for a woman to get married to the age of 9.
Oof.
And it's at the behest of the Shia Muslim parties, because this is what they wrote. Islamic tradition records that Muhammad consummated his marriage, meaning raped, his wife Aisha when she was 9. He actually married her when she was 6, but he waited 3 years till she was 9 to consummate the marriage. And I read from Bukhari 762-88, the way Aisha tells the story of how she was taken to Medina by her mother and given to Muhammad when she was 6, and what happened to her when she was 9. She tells the story, and it is the story of a child rape. And this is now codified in Iraq to follow the tradition of Muhammad, if I'm reading this correctly, that now you can sell your daughter, your cousin, whoever you're in charge of, into marriage for sexual purposes starting at the age of 9, out of respect of the Prophet doing the same thing. So when people say they want to bring Islam here, that's what they're going to bring. By the way, according to Bukhari 558-234, Muhammad was 54 years old at the time, and Aisha was 9. They said that people that protest this do it because they're Islamophobic. OMG. That's what's coming. And if you if you ask in some states, people that follow these traditions will say their religion trumps the law of the land.
No. That's that's what they would like for us to believe, but not here in the United States of America. Now, they may do this in other countries, but here in the United States of America, we already know that's not going to fly. So, no, these are children. But thank goodness the current administration is about to go away, because they would agree to that. They absolutely would. We're talking right now in the United States of America, there's over 400, it's been reported, allegedly, over 400,000 children missing in this country alone. And no one bats an eye about it. None of them bat an eye about it. And come to find out, a lot of them are working. You mentioned that, doing pretty much slave labor, and then other activities that we can't even get into. They're doing this with these children, and no one on the left. Remember, AOC went down there. She's crying on the fence. Oh my goodness, the children. He's separating the children. 400,000 children missing. So they're okay with this. And it's no surprise. 9 years old, let's change the age of consent. Even at the United Nations, Barry, the United Nations is pushing that a grown adult being with a child is completely okay. They're actually saying this at the United Nations, that it's fine. So they're on board with that agenda.
It's true. It's true, and our people need to know that. And it's disgusting. And it's, well, that is part of the international dialogue at the United Nations. Well, that's all we got time for today. We didn't get to some other stuff that was really good. We will pick it up next week. You were awesome. I want to remind everybody to keep us on the air. We need your support. Please go to findberry.com. You can buy something, you can make a donation, you can be a supporter, you can make sure that the truth always comes out. We're at findberry.com. Will Johnson at Unite America First. You know where to find both of us. We will see you again next week. Thanks for joining us today.